Hello, and welcome to the League of Extraordinary Atheists for Humanism, where we attempt to apply logic and reason to religion and politics. I'm here with my wonderful, beautiful co-host, Christy Santiago.
I'm wonderful and beautiful, guys. It's too much. Happy Friday, and the election's over. We can get to topics that matter. We have a couple good ones for you. I have one that I spent some time on. I got to get into history. You guys know how much I love to do that, and it's on American history. So I'm excited to share that with you. And we're actually going to start with, I didn't write anything down for it. It's just too funny. I want to have a banter with Mac about Fox. Viewers are fleeing Fox for OAN.
I know.
So OAN, in case anyone was wondering, isn't Owen. Like if you had twins and you named them Ian and Owen, you would be a very bad parent. However, no, Owen spelt correctly would be a very beautiful name, but OAN is One American Network. And
is it OAN or OANN?
I just think it's OAN.
Because I've been seeing both and I'm confused.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the people that follow that news go to both of them and find them both exactly what they want to hear. So
I listened just to like some of their stuff yesterday. Their Twitter is at OANN, and their I think their .com is OANN.
Right, but the channel is One American Network.
It's not One American News Network. No, that's what it is. It's one. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to pick at you.
No, you're fine. You're fine. OAN is what I found it under. So I didn't look up their email or their Twitter account. I am not following them on the Twitter.
I see. Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, go on. I'll stop talking so you can get on.
Oh no, it's wonderful. Please correct me when I'm wrong. Then I'll keep being wrong until I'm corrected. So, whoa, what was that?
That was me accidentally clicking on YouTube. And not
You're totally getting a spanking later.
It's from not checking, isn't it?
Talking to the lady, and this is happening over the lap and everything. Serious.
Yeah.
Big time mess up. Okay, so I think it's hilarious reading the tweets from people who grammar isn't their, gift in life. So I do find them victims. As a humanist, I do find them victims. It does not, however, I have a sense of humor in me. Inappropriate things are always funny unless they are, of course, hateful or bigoted or racist or homophobic in any way. Then it's obviously not even kind of funny. But on the other hand, reading these are hilarious, and I didn't screenshot any of them. You guys go have fun if you want to read. I've been following you my whole life, and you've been lying to me, and Donald Trump told me to go to this network, so this is where I'm going. Under another one of Donald Trump, Fox is done. Go to OANN or whatever it may be. If it's OANN, then it's OANN. And so many people underneath it put done and done. Like that simple. They're so ready to have someone tell them what to think instead of find it out themselves. And they're the same people when asked, well, how much research do you do? How do you know that you're getting the truth? They're the first ones to say, oh, I do all my research. It's hard to say without laughing because we know that's not true. But unfortunately, when people who do not have an understanding of research and how to look up the critical arguments of the statement that you like, say QAnon or anything. You want to look up the, the criticisms of that and read as many of those as possible too. That's also how you fact check and how you do research. And whatever the idea is, you want to look up the counter and you want to take them both in and get in as much information as possible. But this new news network doesn't do that. They have people in their network, I guess, that not only were a part of the Pizzagate scandal, but like the architects of the Pizzagate, where there were children being sexually mistreated in a basement at a pizza parlor. And when the guy gets there with the gun, the pizza parlor doesn't even have a basement. So they're getting this information off the line, off the internet.
Yeah.
And it went from, because it was such a fringe 4chan, things like that, it wasn't that big of a deal. But when it went to Facebook, I think that we are going to, as Americans, not progressives, just Americans, we're going to have between 17 and 25% of this nation who will believe every single thing this newer network is going to say, and they can get fact checked by the simplest anybody. You don't have to have any knowledge on how to research. Go to this channel, watch a half an hour of it, take notes, and fact check them yourself. And hopefully you will never watch that channel again. It is terrifying. And then to know that the law, which I do not know the name of, and I can remember if people want to message me later so that they can look it up. It was a law to prohibit propaganda in our news. And that got taken out and it got dismantled. And throughout time of dismantling it, it was ripe and ready for Obama to just eliminate it.
Yeah. I'm going down a rabbit trail over here, as you can imagine, because I went to their website now. So I opened one article by OAN. And as I said, I listened to them yesterday because I have family who listens to this news network. They left Fox because Fox can't be trusted anymore. And I was almost excited when I heard that, as you can imagine. I was like, oh, that's great. Oh, wait. Don't say AON or OAN. They said OAN. I'm like, no. So I watched some of it. It is some really far right-wing propaganda that they push. Just to give you an idea.
Yes, it's ideologically
Very right.
Yes, they're pushing an ideology, and
they're the kind.
It's bad. It's really bad. It's really bad.
It's like the caricature of what they're basically the straw man of the right, but they're serious. He walks, he talks, he sings, and he's a little racist. So there is an article here by them. It's called Antifa Call to Action Targets Businesses and War Memorial. And it's, they start with us. Several Antifa activists are under arrest after an evening of destruction in downtown Portland. It goes on. It shows a video of a statue was pulled down, and they say that this is a Veterans War Memorial statue. Then, as you read on, the statue was erected in 1902 in honor of Indians and Spanish, American, Mexican, and Civil War veterans or whatnot here, which you can imagine if it's any kind of left wing who would pull these down. They probably have. We've seen a lot of organizing and trying to get these statues taken down, and some people are going too far and just pulling them down themselves. But they're making it sound like these are just veterans. But come on, we know better. Anyways, that said, they also showed pictures of some stores with windows knocked out or graffitied on. I haven't fact checked any of this yet. I'm just saying like what they're reporting on. Now, the interesting thing though, the thing that I think is really interesting is the comments down below. The very first comment is, would love to see one of them roped on a car instead of a deer. Comment
Guys, that's unacceptable.
27 or 29 likes.
Unacceptable. That is the opposite of humanism. I don't like your ideas, so I'm going to tie you up and drag you behind a truck.
The next comment that is connected to that one is, and have the paint peel off, put a plastic sheet down first. And the one after that is, gut it first. Good for the aerodynamics of the transporting vehicle. Don't forget your butt out tool. Just on and on. Most of these are just violent. But those are the kind of people who watch this.
If you guys would like to do humanity a favor, you can go to these videos. It takes up time. So if you're waiting, you're at a bus stop, you're on a bus, you're traveling, you're whatever it might be, you can go to each one of these comments and report them for what they are. And it really does help. Letting them say, I am against cancel culture. And I am a free speech absolutist. But violence, yelling fire in a theater, there's certain rules as a humanist that, as an American, that I think we all should agree on. And if someone is saying to tie someone up and drag them, that is violent. Report it. Don't read it. Don't reply to it. Report it. They want this. They want people to argue with them. They want libtears and snowflakes and libtards and arguments. And if the people at the top can keep us separated, come on, there's a song, you got to keep them separated. That song is so important. They have to keep us separated. But if we go on and just start deleting every one of these violent, don't just delete if they say mean words, but violent, report them for what they are, and you'll be doing my heart happy. I mean, I go online and do this all the time, but only if there's violence, like let me catch you in my neighborhood, we'll string you up to a tree. I report that, and I report it immediately. And I think a good person would and should and ought to. So sorry for interrupting, but God damn it. Godless damn it. Oh, they're gods.
They can be baited with artificial snap cards too. This goes on, and it's all violent. It's all very violent. The second to last one is, I agree, all caps, take no prisoners. And the last comment I see here, before load more comments, which I don't feel like pushing right now, is, these communists must pay a price. One, they don't even know what a communist is. Two, that shouldn't matter. Oh, also someone's calling for bombing. It's yeah. Whew. We could do a whole segment on just the comments of like one small article. There's like 6 sentences in this article, and there's that much hate speech out of it. Yeeks. All right, so as far as Fox News go, hold on, I need a drink. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you know more accurate numbers. If I remember correctly, I heard that Fox previously had an approval rating of its viewers of about 67%. And since they're not boistering up Trump's trying to steal the election as much as their viewers would like, it's gone down to 54%. Does that sound right? Oh, you're muted. I'm sorry, you're muted. I can't read your lips. I can't read your lips.
At least I wasn't doing my blow up doll. Okay.
Oh.
Stacey loves that one. Anyway,
Get that tattooed on me.
I did watch many different segments on it, and I can't tell you if those are the exact numbers or not, but they do sound like the segment that I watched as well. So, yep.
I'm gonna go to Google here.
You're losing your numbers.
Just
Robert Ailes. He dies. Disney buys Fox, and the world arrests Jeffrey Epstein, finds out about Pedophile Island, and then he gets murdered or hung himself or something. All this stuff. And all of it happened, it feels like, in the last decade, right? No, just shortly. just shortly.
Very shortly.
Yes.
Okay, I have those numbers a little better now. I'm seeing multiple sources reporting that over the last 2 weeks, Fox News viewership has dropped 32%.
Well, you know,
32%.
I mean, should we all give a moment of silence, or should we just keep carrying on?
I don't
Yeah.
mean like it's pretty crazy. It really is. Sorry, I'm trying to like look a little more and see what it was at and what it's not at now. Well, Fox News's viewership dropped. The viewership for CNN and MSNBC increased to near parity. No, that word. And weekday average daytime viewership, Fox News garnered 1.63 million viewers. CNN received 1.68 million viewers, and MSNBC received 1.71 million viewers. So they're the lowest out of that, and not by a ton. But I know that Tucker Carlson, he has like the most watched like news show in America, and he is also losing many viewers right now. I know that Christy and I have both seen probably the Humanist Report, where they were showing. Go ahead, Christy.
How embarrassing is it that the Tucker fucking Carlson show is the number one news show in this gosh darn forsaken country. That's all. Carry on.
It is pretty sad. We're in a pretty sad state of affairs. And oh no, I feel a rant coming on, Christy. Christy, I feel a rant coming on. No, don't encourage it. Stop it. Stop it, Christy. All right.
Mac rant. Tell him in the chat, rant. Type
What?
rant right now or else.
Rant?
That's
Are
my
you saying
mean
rant? Rant or rant?
Rant.
Brant, come on out down here. Brant.
Rant without a B.
Okay. Rant it is. All right. So why do we have Tucker Carlson as one of the most, if not the most watched news program in America? Well, it's because of fake news. It's because of fake news. We all know the news is fake. And Trump's kind of right on that, right? We know that. We know that a lot of mainstream news lies by omission. And what do they lie about? They lie about war and they lie about money and politics. Again, mostly by omission. And who points that out more than anyone else? Tucker Carlson. He is anti-war. He's more anti-war than most people on mainstream news.
Right. Hold on. Caveat. Check out the funders of any and everything that he does. His speeches, his talks, all of it. And then tell me if he's anti-war. Because I am anti-war. And if a weapons manufacturing company came to me and said, for whatever reason they would ever want to hire me, which that would never happen. However, in this scenario, they wanted to give me enough money that I could survive off and live happily ever after with my family after doing whatever it is they needed to do for me. I couldn't work for them. I would have to say no. I cannot work for a weapons manufacturer.
Well, also, you're just like living off that Soros money right now. So.
Well, yeah, he's kind of late on his check, bastard.
Yeah. Not even him.
I know he could give each American $1 million and never even feel it. Never even notice it gone because his billions make those hundreds of millions all the time. So just give 330, however many Americans there are, each person $1 million. And just think about your future presidential status if you did that. I mean, I'm saying don't be a president. I'm just saying if you were smart, you wouldn't feel it. If I had $1 billion, just 1 billion, I would do that. If I had hundreds of billion, 100 billion, 50 billion, every single goddamn American in this country would get $1 million. Why? Because I can't spend it and they need it. And because it would be the right thing to do. This country gave me the opportunity to get to where I am, to have all of this. And I want to give back to people who maybe didn't have two parents growing up, which puts them back one, and who lived in a bad area that put them back one, whose parents were addicted to drugs that put them back one. You know, there's so many reasons that people don't make it and some do. And the ones that do should never hoard their stuff like Scrooge McDuck. I mean, we all know about Scrooge McDuck. And as a child, we knew that was wrong. I watched a video recently that doesn't have anything to do with money or Scrooge McDuck, but it was a 7-year-old they were asking children between the ages of 6 and 8 hard questions. And it was in another country, Finland, Scandinavian countries, you know, giving them scenarios. there is a new little black girl that comes to school and everybody treats her bad because of her skin. These children are sobbing because they know that it's wrong without being taught anything about race. They change it up and say someone comes who doesn't speak English and is very religious. Some of these kids had to be explained what religion was because it's a very, non-religious country that they believe that they come from. And some of these little girls were just like, well, why can't we just be friends? And she believes that, and I believe what I believe. Just that at 7 years old, the empathy is there, and we indoctrinate the shit of it just right out of their heads. And I guess that's what reminded me of that was, children have morals before they are taught because they're beautiful. I mean, watch children play. When they get older, they're cruel. And I'm not saying children aren't cruel. I went to a school where there were cliques and bullies, and I was very bullied as a young kid, as a very poor kid, sometimes who had to wear the same things in 1 week. And I would be told, didn't you wear this week? And, in the grand scheme of things, it didn't ruin my life, but that day it ruined my life. And so I'm not saying that all kids are this empathetic, but the age that happened to me was more in 5th and 6th grade than in 1st and 2nd grade. And I mean, we can learn a lot from the empathy of children by just asking them how they feel about the big hard questions. Racism, let's get it. The sooner they learn, the better our future is going to be. And so I know that went from one thing to another, but it's still no truer.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
We're really in a pile of shit. Not just because of Fox, AON, and how much money George Soros has.
Yeah.
But because our news media, our journalists don't really hold politicians' feet to the fire. Like
Right.
they get away with
They're not allowed to.
Our politicians don't do their jobs because we don't make them, right? So
Because
it really
we allow lobbying and bribing, legal bribing.
right. We do.
Yeah, if we could take money out of politics and they were beholden to the people, I think no. I know immediately we'd see a difference in local neighborhoods because they would be worried about that budget they have and the people coming at them saying, this is what we wanted with this budget, instead of the wealthy with the millions saying, don't worry about that Central Park. We'll bury it in legal fees, and in legal cases. Don't worry about it. And 2021's coming up. We're gonna have another president. That's as good a space as I can give you.
Yeah.
And he is already paying attention, guys, to who he is filling his cabinet with.
He is.
Yes.
I wanted to make a quick correction because I've run these numbers a couple times and I just ran them again for the fun of it. And again, I'm nitpicking and whatever, but you said if George Soros would give everyone $1 million, like he wouldn't even like notice it. But that's a little hyperbolic. Like that's impossible for him to do. That would actually, honestly, that's impossible for our government to do right now, because that would cost $335 trillion to do that. But Jeff Bezos could give just about everyone $1,000 closer to like 750. And he'd still be fine because he makes more money. But yeah, point is they have too much money, and we'd all do better if it was separated. But just to get the antics and really actually kind of give you the numbers a little bit, because I've done the math on this multiple times to see how much wealth we can spread in the country, because it's something that interests me. So if anyone was wondering just how much we can spread them thin, that's something I don't mind doing and like laying out. Cool. So do we want to move on, or do you want me to rant more about that?
Yes. All right. Okay, guys. Public college.
Is it going to be
depressing? Bernie went. No. Actually, it's going to have some very, very racist points in it, and I'm going to do my best to use them how they were meant to be used, and kind of explain public education and how it started and how we got to where we got. So, public education. Bernie Sanders went to public education. Many people that are older in my family went to public education. Public education and public college used to be completely debt-free in this country right here, the good old US of A. The US government was funding public education, and because of this investment into the citizens of this nation, this country experienced fully the talents of an educated workforce. I mean, people were reading Marx and books that you just don't see reading. Like, people would want to cover up the cover of Marx if they're reading on the bus in certain cities. They just wouldn't want to start anything. In this era where college was just like, more learning. Let's become the smartest country on the planet. Why shouldn't education be free? Our taxes are high. We can afford it. So they did. But with educated people, and I really want a t-shirt so bad. You guys know this. I've said this so many times, that says, education is the inoculation of ignorance. And I believe it. I believe it. And this is why I think this story is so important. In the 1950s and the 1960s, and even well into the 1970s, millions of families were able to send their kids to college. Most families were experienced the first of many members of their families to go to and graduate from college and go on to even more school, graduate school. And they did this debt-free. There was the GI Bill, which was an investment in returning veterans. They went and did what they did, and when they came back, we promised them that we would give them the life they deserve. And that GI Bill changed the GIs' lives when they came back. It's not as watered down. It's not even watered down anymore. It's just in the swamp. That's a whole nother story. The GI Bill still does help many people. It's just not the same. I'll just end it there. This investment, the GI Bill, and there was the GI Bill, which was an investment in the returning veterans for doing what they did for our country. This investment paid off, get this, $7 for every $1 invested. That was the bill. That was the law. This type of investment in making college virtually free for everyone helped to unleash the greatest middle class this world has ever seen in the history of ever. That came the end of the 70s and the 80s. Then came the cuts to the budgets. Small government was good, big government was bad, socialism is bad, which equates with authoritarianism, and they want to take 90% of all your money. All that had to be made into scare tactics. So tuition has tripled over the course of just a generation. That is a, get ready for this, guys, 394% increase, people. The student debt in the US has skyrocketed to well over $1 trillion, $190 billion, and that's the 2015 budget. How did we get here? Who allowed this shit to happen? I ask myself that all the time. People, we are the government. If we are not involved in paying attention to these things, we don't even have to be out in the streets. We don't have to go into Washington, D.C. We can just be informed and share information. As when education was free and everyone got education, we were an informed electorate, and that became a problem. My opinion, real quick, so far, is, quote, and I'm just going to quote myself so you know when I end, tribalism, racism, and how to create policies to hurt the others more than the people that look like us. And that's my opinion, end quote. Let's start with Lee Atwater. Go ahead and look him up if you want to, save information about him. If you don't know who he is, you're probably not a part of LEAH. And if you don't know who he is and you're new to LEAH, welcome. And you're going to find out so much stuff about stuff and things that you didn't even know you wanted to know about. And they're going to make you feel so empowered and informed. So let's start with Lee Atwater. That's not his middle name. I was just adding that. Sometimes I'm silly. He was Ronald Reagan's strategist. So these are his words and not mine, and I refuse to say the N-word. So, quote, you start out in 1954 by saying N-word, N-word, N-word. By 1968, you can't say N-word. That hurts you. It backfires. So you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights, and all that stuff. And you're getting so abstract now. You're talking about cutting taxes, and all these things you're talking about are totally economic things. And a byproduct of them is that blacks do get hurt worse than whites in these policies. We want to cut this is much more abstract than even the busing thing, and a hell of a lot more abstract than the N-word, N-word, end quote. This is Ronald Reagan's strategist, by the way. So when people think that the guy who writes speeches for Trump is bad, just think this circle hasn't ended. People are just starting to pay attention. And when a lot of us start to pay attention, we're going to see that it's a circle that continues, and we're going to get younger people in, and all these old white people who think that they should be the rulers because the color of skin they were born into. You know how I feel. The location of your mother's vagina on the day you were born, the GPS coordinates of her vagina on the day you're born do not in any way make you better than anyone else. So
No,
there's
I said no, they don't.
No, they don't. They don't. You're a perfect, precious baby. Go, Mac. Go, Mac. Go.
I wanted to add to the Lee Atwater. He was not only an advisor to Ronald Reagan, also George H.W. Bush, and he was a chairman of the Republican National Committee.
Yeah.
So he had his feet very wet.
He had his fingers in everything.
In every hole.
Sorry. I will mature one day, I promise.
I won't. I promise.
I promise. Okay. Dog whistle politics. I like that. I think that that is an important title to call this, dog whistle politics. And it's been out for a while. It just hasn't been used for a while. And I want to bring it back. Dog whistle politics has always centrally involved public education and integration. From the very beginning, dog whistle politics turned on stoking resentment on integration of educational settings. You know, I don't want my beautiful, perfect white daughter to go to school with your animalistic black son who's going to rape her. Those are the flyers they would, you know, throw out or put on everyone's door to scare them. It's disgusting. It starts with a dog whistle such as, quote, states' rights, which was the right of the southern states to resist integration ordered by the federal government, or, quote, forced busing, pretending that the issue was putting children on buses rather than the integration it was designed to achieve for our nation's future as a united country. Like I said, 6 and 7-year-olds knew it was wrong. Hatred has to be taught by parents, and shame on you if you teach your children to hate other humans and other children because they're different than them. What a lost opportunity, actually, to go up to someone different than you and learn all the things that they can teach you from their culture, and then you can, you know, exchange and say, well, we do things this way and learn about the world. Hating the other is ignorant, okay? And that is a proper word in my dictionary. It's just so ignorant that I can't even say the whole world. It's the whole word. It's just ignorant. So,
I would
raise
like
your
to,
hand. Yes.
I want to remind people that even though I wasn't there, Ken Ham in my head right now. Will you that? But things were so bad back then that even the white folk who did support not just busing, but like not segregated schooling for kids, people who would help raise money for a school for all races to go together in, when those funds were done being gotted and the schools built, the white families often didn't show up. And when they did, they often left because they saw their children kind of being stunted in their growth. And that's because the Black children were behind because they didn't have proper education before that point. So when they put them in together, it's just like, oh no, they're holding my kids back because they're dumb. Well, no, they're not dumb. I mean, maybe to a certain standard, depending on how you define
They
dumb.
just weren't as educated as yours were.
Right. So again, depending on how you want to define dumb, it's not because their brains can't learn it. It's because if you don't give someone proper education, it's like what everyone fears. Like your parents want you to go to a good public school because they want you to learn. Your parents want you to go to a good college so you learn and you get a good degree from a prestigious school so you can have a higher chance of getting a job. When you send any group of children to a school that is ill-equipped to teach said children, they will fall behind. And that's what happened so often to this segment of society, because we didn't give a shit about them. Right. So then when you give a shit about them and put them in school with kids that their own age, you see what you have done by your lack of action until now.
There are pretty interesting stories about exactly that, Mac. Journals that were written down and had to be hidden of Black women who wanted to teach their children, their Black children, what the white kids were teaching. And there were white teachers who agreed that all children should be treated equal, but they could have their houses burned down. A lot of them were threatened. A lot of them disappeared. These white teachers would have to work with the Black teachers to get them to teach them how to teach this, because they didn't even know. And this happened well before integration. So there's been, it's such a sad story. Keep them ignorant, which makes me laugh when Trump says, I love poorly educated voters.
Yeah. This really rings true to the phrase, if you don't know your history, you're bound to repeat it. Right? Most people, especially like kids now, like they don't get taught that part of the civil rights movement, like how bad it was, what was the problems. They're spoon-fed really basic things, like we all know that Blacks couldn't share a water fountain and a bathroom. Well, that wasn't the extent of it. That was just another shitty thing, right? That wasn't
also in America, if you look up Summer of Love in America, or what is sold as Summer of Love, documentaries about the Summer of Love in America, the 60s, and then also look up what year the most lynchings to Black people happened. It's the same motherfucking year. So Summer of Love, my arse.
Yeah.
I think that they lived in two different worlds, as they do now, and they're starting to collide, and it's a beautiful and scary thing. But we got to remember that there's a human race, the one we are, and we are here, and there are many, 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 many more of us than them.
Yeah. The thing that made me want to start like veering off in this direction and like kind of start a rant is when Christy said that, the white teachers wanted, like they agreed that everyone, like all kids, should be taught the same. Mm-hmm. Well, if you don't know your history, you're bound to repeat it. We see this today. In schools and in the South, which will rise again. If you watch any kind of KKK documentary, you'll find what they teach their kids. And I don't need to go into what they teach their kids. I don't need to go into details. All I need to use are a few dog whistles. All I need to say are a few key words. Mm-hmm. And those include nationalism, white nationalism, right? When you are worried about, I already closed it, AON, when they pulled down that statue, it says, fuck America. Okay? No one in this country can take any criticism of the country, right? We see the right wing. If anyone says anything about white people being shitty for any reason, even a past reason,
even if it's demonstrably true,
right? It doesn't matter. It's white nationalism, right? It's like, no, we're fine. Well, yeah, we did bad things, but like we atoned for, I had a black president, okay? I mean, I hated him. I told my friends that we should all lynch him, but we had a
My
black.
daughter dates a
I'm not
black
racist.
guy. How can I be racist?
Right. Like, you get this over and over, and we don't, those people tend to not know how bad these times were, what we did to people, and how that affected their communities, and how that affects our entire society. Classism
Yeah.
ruins societies, and this is a form of classism.
Well, you have to think of it
Racism.
like that. We had kings and kings for thousands of years, and then people started realizing no, you're just keeping born, and sometimes you're inbred and you're idiots, and we don't want to follow you. And so, like, no, we're done with that. Then there was feudalism, where the lords and the ladies who ran the court around the king and queen took over. And they took over and they ran all of the industry, all of the capital, all of the businesses, and they had workers underneath them, and there were a system set up. There were police, there were judges, there were courts, but it was feudalism, which, is oligarchy, essentially. And then from feudalism, a lot of places kind of stepped back and said, we really don't want you to rule at all. We want a democracy. And every 1,000 or 2 years to every couple 100 of years, the economic system changes as for us humans. And if you look at the dates of as our economic systems have changed, well, it's about that time. And I'm not saying go off the deep end at all. I'm saying do what FDR did. Let's try a whole bunch of things that people are suggesting work. If they work, let's keep doing them. If they don't, throw them out the bend and let's try new stuff. We don't have time to wait. Let's start doing good stuff. And because of FDR, not that he's in my little story, I'm going to get back to this little history story of education. Okay, it starts with a dog whistle, such as states' rights, which was the right of southern states to resist integration ordered by the federal government. And that always reminds me of the quote, and I'm not 100%, so do not quote me on this, that it is Lou Debs, Debs who ran for president in the 20s. However, it is of that time. And because capitalists always talk about freedom, this and freedom and freedom and freedom, and everyone else wants to take your freedom. The quote goes, freedom for who and to do what? I love that. So another dog whistle, forced busing, pretending the issue was putting children on buses. And they ran it over and over and over again on the TV, scaring people, rather than integration that it was designed to achieve. However, we had free and fair and balanced news then. We did. And local news stations set up freedom buses. Look up freedom buses. I did an entire story on freedom buses on Wonder Lady's channel. Freedom buses, what a story. These college kids, black, white, Spanish, beautiful, beautiful Americans. The way if you look out at America, the way that it looks, that's what these buses look like. And they decided to drive down to the South and put their bodies on the line to demand that these black people, 100 years after the Declaration had been signed, that they were allowed to vote, to make sure that they could vote. Like the freedom buses is another humanity shines through. There's so many more good humans than there are bad. There really are. Dog whistle politics helps explain how the wealthy and the powerful have used a very simple formula to sell us their economic agenda that actually hurts all of us. Number one, fear the other. They've had no problem doing that this entire time. Two, hate the government. Because if we have all these public policies, then the government's doing well. And I mean, a government's job is to protect the people and to make sure the people have what they need. Well, if we hate the government, then we have to go to private, and private can make profit off of us, and they don't have to do it right. Go ahead, Mac. Swallow first.
Hold on, don't tell.
Hold on, let me take it out of his mouth. Okay, go ahead, Mac.
Hold on. You said it's the government's job to like protect people. What if they're only 2/3 of people?
All of the citizens.
There's no exception to that rule. Are you sure?
Yes, I am.
All right, I'm just checking.
Every single citizen. Yep. Yep. And then number 3, which they have managed to indoctrinate into inanimate objects. They've been so good at this. Trust the free market. And that one comes, remember, right after hate the government. So we have one, fear of the other. Black hordes. Remember when the hordes were coming up right before the election? Oh my gosh, we've got to get Donald Trump. All these hordes are coming up. So fear of the other, hate the government, or mistrust the government. That was also part of hate the government. And number 3, trust the free market. We know what we're doing because competition will always win. But these fat cats make sure that there's no competition. So we'll get into that another day. This fear has built support for politics that said cut public funding of public schools, public colleges, indeed to just about everything public, aka the common good. Over the course of just one generation, states have cut about a quarter of every single dollar they used to spend on funding public college. And remember, that was for every $7 invested in public education, only $1 came from the people. So for every $1 the public invested, the government invested 7. So let me read that again. Over the course of one generation, states have cut about a quarter out of every single dollar they used to spend on funding public college. What's made up the financial difference, because that has to be made up, people still have to go to school. Who's paying that now? Well, a tripling of tuition, an average of almost, and this is a minimum, 30,000 of student debt right out of college. Can't buy a home, start a family, a savings account, forget about it, start a family, etc. Not unless you're lucky and come from a wealthy family or marry wealthy. And then how is any of this good for America? I understand your racist ass wants to make policies because they hurt the blacks the worst. I get your hatred. I feel it. I know it. You're hurting people. If that's your reason, how evil are you to let all of these other people suffer because you don't like these people with one color? Now, don't get me wrong. I don't agree with any of that. Nobody should suffer for this type of policy that makes one person hurt, one type of person, people hurt more than the rest. I find it vile, actually. It makes my stomach sick. It makes my stomach sick. When we disinvest from the public, the cost of colleges go up for everybody. Student debt goes up for everyone. And that means for all of the beautiful colors of Americans, including the people that they think are so supreme, the people with the twat skin. And racism as a political tool hurts everybody. It hurts every color and every background of citizen. And that is my story on that. And I didn't want to spend too much time in history like I like to. I figured I got enough in there to show you how the policies have broke down. Lee Atwater said it all. You know, we couldn't say N anymore because we looked like the racist bigots we were, and nobody's going to vote for us. So we have to say other words. You know, it's just, and when you think, no, it can't be that evil. People can't be that evil. They can. They can. And what I want to leave you with is, I'm not saying go out there and be super involved, volunteer at, you know, every campaign that you, I'm not saying that. Unless you want to, good for you. However, these decisions are getting made whether we pay attention or not. These decisions are getting made by people we either voted for or we did not, or we didn't vote at all. And if we didn't vote at all, and all of these horrible things are happening to our children, isn't that a wake-up call? And on top of that, if we are a nation that is of, by, and for the people, it is time for the people to start paying fucking attention. Minimum. Pay attention. Get your news sources from a minimum of 10 sources. 10. And I'm not saying read 10 every single day. Read 2 or 3 a day. You know, and make sure that you don't read those 3 the next day. You know, subscribe to Jacobin. Subscribe to send me a DM and ask me some of the things that you know, can help inform you and fast. And again, I would like to add, I'm sorry.
I said subscribe to OANN.com.
No, do not. I will spank you, and not the kind you like. Wait. No, I will not do any spanking.
They're all going to like that, Christy. You've already stuck your foot in your mouth. And some of them are going to like that too.
I know. Grr. Love you guys. My own little perverts. Okay. So it just is important. Maybe there are websites that you can go to that you can sign up to get emails of what's going on locally. That means you don't have to talk to anybody. You don't have to answer the phone. They send you a text message of your local. Do you know who your local, you know, people are? Do you? You should. You should. And then when you sign up, what you get is their agenda for the month, how they handled it through the month, when they need help, when they don't need help. Sometimes if you have a little extra time, you can actually stick stickers in an envelope and mail them out, stuff like that. And if that's way too much for you, then whenever you hear of something that you think most people don't know and really should, share it, open your mouth, and make sure that, you know, you can back it up by going, wait, actually, but it's right here. And that's what this says. And I'm not saying that Uncle Bob that's never going to believe you, he thinks aliens started our DNA and that QAnon is an actual person in the deep state helping Trump take Mueller and all the sex offenders down. I'm not talking about him. Leave him alone. He's good by himself. He's got it all figured out and no one needs to help him or listen to him. Unironically. But don't laugh at him. He's a victim. Seriously. I mean, in his face. Come on, guys. Humanism.
I get it. I get it.
All right. I spittled on my screen.
And now it's, there we go. There's the case. All right. Well, first off, that was great. Thank you for doing that and throwing the history in there and bringing back old what's his face Lee what
Lee Atwater.
Atwater. That's right.
Oh,
Yeah,
just
I'd almost forgotten about him until you started like quoting him. Like, oh yeah, that fucker.
And have you guys seen that meme of Kamala walking and then there's the little girl shadow walking behind her? Have you guys seen that meme? It's really famous right now. Anyway,
how was that little girl? Is it that?
no, Kincaid did this photo series of what was going on in the 60s. There's tomato smashes against the wall. It was the little girl who had the National Guard all around her, taking her to her class. And then they superimpose Kamala, walking with her briefcase or whatever on the sidewalk, and the shadow of the little girl, like that little girl could grow up to be the president. Now, I understand Kamala a little bit better, and I know she didn't make it, so I'm not blaming her. But Michael Moore took that same picture and he put bars around that little girl. And I'm like, now we're talking. So that's the remix. And I know we're on a little high because we got Donald Trump out of there, but the work now really has to begin. And look up the Kamala little girl Kamala meme, little girl walking. You should be able to find, and then type in Michael Moore bars on top of that, and you'll be able to see that one too. And it's like the first one made all of the libs in America who aren't informed, they're just informed enough to know that tribalism rules and blue team won and we're not the racist guys and he's the mean guy. We don't say the things that need to stay quiet. They say the quiet things out loud. That group, when they posted it, even for a minute, because I am a humanist, I thought, that this means something. This is from a time when someone had to be walked into school.
Yeah.
I know. She's Kamala. Kamala. Until now, we have a vice president who is part, Black. I think that's beautiful. And then the very next day, I saw the next photo with the cage around the little girl. And I said, yep, don't let me forget. Don't let me get caught up into the flowery words. Don't let me get caught up in all this, like I can rest now, because no, I cannot. And even though he got in a lot of trouble, the people who were involved with that got a lot of shit, why are you trying to take the glory away from such a wonderful thing? He's not. He's letting us know that, yes, we won. That part's good. Now the work begins. We have kids separated from their parents and a hell of a lot more going on that we need to get our asses in gear and not just fix what Trump broke, but also fix what Obama couldn't.
Yeah.
So
we haven't won much of a victory yet. So stop celebrating. The way I look at it.
Right.
Like whoop-dee, cool. You said whoop-dee.
Whoop-dee. Yeah.
Done.
Yeah. Pick up a guitar and play us a song real quick, Matt. I put you totally on the spot, didn't I?
No. Not right now. Maybe another day.
All right.
Subscribe to us on Patreon and maybe I'll play guitar for you.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
We have one more topic that
we do.
Yeah, we added last minute here. So are we ready? This is going to be short because there's not a lot of info out on it, but I did not want to go on without touching on it. So I'm grabbing my notes. Here we go. Iranian's top nuclear scientist was assassinated today. Have you heard about this, Christy? Yes, of course you have. If I could say his name, I'm going to try. You can grade me if you'd like, Christy. And all of you down in the comments below, you may also grade me. Just give me a letter grade, A through F through Z, whatever. Mohsen Fakhrizadeh. Oh shit, I had it before. Mohsen Fakhrizadeh. I think it was Fakhrizadeh. Mohsen Fakhrizadeh. I had it. Okay, so give me 2 grades. 1 for the retest. He was gunned down near Tehran. It looks like a back road, but I don't know what back roads look like over there. Looks like his vehicle was ambushed. His bodyguards and the terrorists, the assassins, whatever you want to call them, they're calling them different things. It doesn't really matter. The people who killed him, they got in a firefight. And it was, I'll give you this link right now down below. I'm going with this link because it is the most up-to-date article right now. It's only about an hour old. Everything else is about 6, 8, 9, 12 hours old. And this has a map of where it happened. Again, I do not have a lot of info on this because what's his name? Zarif, the leader over in Iran, he is blaming Israel and the United States, and Israel nor the United States have come out and said that they are claiming this action and all. But even if they don't, Iran has pretty strong reason to believe that it would be them. Like, we could totally be framed for it, but we are the ones to point the finger to. Absolutely, because we're the ones who keep trying to ramp up tensions with Iran. And Trump was just talking about bombing some of their military bases just like last week. And the thought is Trump is trying to really hurt the prospect of the Biden administration of reconnecting ties with Iran.
Remember, we just took out their top general illegally
Soleimani.
in not in our country or Iran's country, where we used our weapons to shoot down Iran's top general in a foreign country, which is completely illegal internationally. And yeah, we did that too. Well, Trump did that. Part of me though, I've said this to Stacey a couple times. I feel like Trump came in and told the generals, I don't know what Obama told you about all the rules and regulations and human rights, but I'm a law and order. I'm a strong man. So you do whatever you want, whatever you think is necessary. You're out there. You know what's going on. And gave him a free for all. I mean, I don't know any of that for a fact. That's just one of my little thinking while I'm having my coffee and my joint in the morning. It's just Trump doesn't seem to know about it when people say, "Hey, did you know that so and so?" He's like, "Oh, it did." So
what I want to get at here, because we don't know who did this, right?
Who did this?
We can speculate, And many people are speculating. That's fine. We can do that. But I want to point out, before anything is said, excuse me, is anyone at war with Iran? No one's at war with Iran right now. This is an act of war, right? We killed one of their...
Iran has never said that they want or alarmed to us that they wanted to start a war. They've never sieged America. They've never wanted a war with America. The words never come out of their mouth. We're going to take you down.
Right.
Their words actually this week were, we are looking forward to Biden in the White House so we can re-sign up to this deal that fell apart with Trump.
Yes.
So that nobody can have nuclear weapons. However, Israel and America and Saudi Arabia will still be able to have. I won't go on that.
No, well, the Revolutionary Guard, I believe, is calling for some strong action to respond to this. And of course they are, because they don't want their country to feel weak or seem weak. No one likes to be pushed over, right? We know that. Now, this is what the U.S. does, and Israel too. Like, they do acts of war, especially like to the Palestinians, and they don't report on it. They don't really talk about it, but they wait for the response. They wait for someone to revolt against said action, and they're like, look at what they're doing. They just attacked us. Holy shit, they just attacked us. We have to respond. And it just keeps going, right? They're like, we didn't even say anything about that because we didn't do it. And then, I mean, it might come out here in a couple of months. Oh, that was our men, but we didn't tell them to do that. Like, we didn't tell them to do that. So it's their fault. And now we're at war with them, and we might as well take their oil. They're bad guys anyways.
Right.
Right. This is how it works. But no one is at war with Iran. So whoever did this just committed a war crime because they took an offensive measure against a country that they're not at war with.
Right.
So it doesn't matter who it doesn't matter if it's us, Britain, China, Russia, Iraq,
Right.
Israel, doesn't matter.
Cambodia,
Whoever it comes out to
Australia.
be, it comes out, Australia, New Zealand probably. The Swiss. It's a war crime. So mark my words, I'll say it again when we find out who it is. I don't care who it is. They committed a war crime. And I wanted to get ahead of this so it's said beforehand. Like, I don't mind pointing out when it's America. So if it turns out it was like fucking Russia or something like that, I'll say the same thing, right? Not that I apologize for Russia, but for anyone who wants to call us like Russian bots, Russian hacks kind of thing, it's like, hold on, anyone just fucking is, because no one's claimed it yet. As of like a few minutes ago, let me refresh this. Still nothing new here. And I just wanted to get ahead of the curve and say the action is a war crime. Action is a war crime. So we'll find out soon, hopefully, who to blame it on. And I have a couple of guesses on who that may be.
Yes, same here. And I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to C-SPAN, if you have been watching the OCPW. Okay, so maybe that's a story I should bring to everyone. It is one of the most important stories of our lifetime. Justice is getting stolen, and it's about Syria. It's about chemical weapons. It's about espionage. It's about our government going into our own buildings and putting bugs in so we could make sure that they were going to play it on our side instead of play it on the truthful side, and letting Mike Bolton, letting the head of OPCW let him know to his face, if you don't resign, I know where your children live. All of this has happened over the last 2-3 weeks, and I'm obsessed with it. It's not on any mainstream because they don't want anybody to know. And if I get a couple thumbs up, then I will cover this amazing story next week. It'll be a lot of work for me. So a couple thumbs up, I will do this, and I will bring to you guys what is probably one of the most massive and earth-shaking stories of corruption, conspiracy, and our empire falling apart, and who the bad guys are. It's all in there. So,
Oh, I can't wait. You have my thumbs. Take them.
I will take your thumbs. Thank you.
You're
And then also, if you ever think of something, I know I say this often, and I do check the messages on LEAH Facebook. If you ever, come across something where you're like, oh, I don't have time to research that, and I want that to be a topic, send it to the direct message on LEAH Messenger. And if I don't see it, Mac will see it. Someone will see it and send it to me if I don't see it first. And I will get it on my list. And if you're a Patreon and you ask me to do something, well then, yes, sir, ma'am, sir, ma'am, immediately. That's right.
'Tis our work.
Tis our
So
work.
yeah.
Oh yeah, and this is for Smitty. I have to turn up the light for him. And let's see. This is for Smitty.
How many weeks is today?
74.
No, 5.
74. I think it's 74 on my. Look at that. So I mean, it's starts right here, but
Yeah.
I can get it all the way up into a ponytail, and some of the silver comes out of the ponytail. It's so
That's
exciting. I can see it coming down. The silver come down to like right here now, but
Mhm.
only on the underneath, not on the top. Obviously, it stops right around here still. So
Yeah.
Smitty
Very
calls
good.
me his sorceress, and he gives me lots of support to grow it out, and wishes he had hair as sorceress. I think that's how he spelled it. As I did, so that he could be a sorceress too. Yes.
That looks fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
And if everybody is ready to go spend their rest of their Friday night with their families and their friends, and they're tired of us, we love you. And stay humanist for God's sake. For God's sake.